and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to this edition of Political Smackdown. We have with us our regular crew today. To my right is Mike Philbeck, the former mayor of Shelby. To my left is Andy Dedman, the former majority whip of the North Carolina House. And to my left also is Wes Westmoreland, former North Carolina senator. And I'm Betsy Wells, your host. As we're taping this week, it's Father's Day weekend. And so I know that it's a holiday, and with my family, as when we grew up and married and moved away, we always came back home on Father's Day weekend, and we would go out to Price Lake with my dad and picnic up until he died. So, what about y'all, Mike?
Well, this is a special day for me, the day we're taping. Today is my 53rd wedding anniversary.
Well, happy anniversary.
So thank the Lord for my wife who's put up with me all these years before one of these guys says it, Betsy.
All right.
Who gave me our 4 wonderful children for me to be able to celebrate Father's Day.
Mm-hmm. All right, Wes?
Yeah, happy anniversary, and gosh, Patty, I'm so sorry.
I knew it was coming if I brought it up.
But yeah, thank you for our fathers. We all are thankful for the lessons learned from our fathers, the example that they set, and I'm proud to be a father and have celebrated with my children. So yeah, a good day, good weekend.
Good, Andy?
Well, I'm not going to get to see Victoria this weekend. She is actually working. She is a capitalist from the word go. She has a dog sitting
Good for her.
She does.
service, yeah.
Good.
And she drives from Morgan to Asheville, where all them people got plenty of money. Yeah. So she said, Daddy, I got to make some money. I said, honey, I understand. She said, I'll come see you next week. And I said, that's fine. We got to make $1 when we can make it. So
Well, maybe there's hope for her.
there is hope.
And the celebration of Father's Day goes all the way back to a woman up in New England that wanted to celebrate her Civil War veteran father. And then I think it became a holiday in the 1900s. But to all the fathers out there in TV land, happy Father's Day, and thank you for the examples that you have set for your children and your community. All right, guys, since our last taping, the Catawba Indians have held a huge groundbreaking ceremony for its $700 million resort. It was well attended by the Kings Mountain Mayor and City Council and the former mayor of Kings Mountain, and as well as the county commissioners, including the chairman. The Indian drum music was extraordinary, playing twice throughout the program, and then the friendship dance. Speakers included the Catawba Nation's Chief Brian Harris, Christine Cribb from the Chamber of Commerce, Jason Falls, who is helps with, I think he's the business manager. Wait a minute, what is his title? He's the business development director for Cleveland County, and he's worked very closely with Catawba Indians. And also Kevin Gordon spoke, the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, and had several, and the mayor of Kings Mountain, Rob Wagman, who's new. When he spoke, he presented Chief Harris with a proclamation or an award, but then he gave him an eagle feather because he is of Indian descent from up in like Michigan, Chickawatt, or I can't remember which tribe it was, but anyway, which was really neat because they can only do it Indian to Indian, and it was just. The architect, the builder, and them, they went out and they had this friendship dance, and they also went out for the groundbreaking, which you saw on the picture that Tim posted. So it was just, and there were hundreds of people there, and the food was delicious. The VIPs got a lapel pin, and I've got mine on right here, and also a plexiglass paperweight with the image of the casino. And if you remember what Wes showed us last week, and this is what was on the outside of the program, the new casino is going to be about twice what they had originally planned. And it just seemed, every time I go up the road, they just seem to be moving more dirt. But Wes, you were there. What did you think?
Well, I was a huge crowd, but there were two real surprises for me. Apparently, there's been a recent election of a new chief
There has.
that led to a complete revision over the last year of what was going to be built. And then the mayor of Kings Mountain, when he spoke, suggested that he and the chief have discussed reconsideration of some agreements.
Ooh.
And asking a few questions, I found that prior to the event, Kings Mountain sent out a press release requesting a reinterpretation of the 2019 Intergovernmental Agreement, or IGA, between the tribe and the county to allow Kings Mountain to take some of the payment to the county for county services that the county provides. The IGA, Betsy, is essentially an agreement for payment in lieu of county taxes, but the payment is equivalent to the taxes that other businesses in the county would pay, including sales and occupancy tax, for services that the county provides. And of course, Andy, as an independent nation, the Catawba tribe is exempt from these on the tribal property. And all of this property is outside of Kings Mountain, even the ETJ of Kings Mountain. So other than just taking a cut of what the county negotiated for county services, I'm not sure why Kings Mountain doesn't just pursue a direct agreement for services that they would provide. Water, sewer, electric would be a windfall for the city. But it was, that was the downside. It was disappointing to hear of all this discussion behind the scenes on what was otherwise a very proud day for the Catawba Nation.
And what had been decided before had been decided by the Scott Neisler's, the old mayor, the past mayor.
Kings Mountain didn't have anything to do with the county arrangement.
I know, but
Completely unrelated.
that's true. But anyway, I know that it was exciting, and I don't know.
It was a great day.
It's a new person. Rob Weidman's a new mayor, and they've got some, and so maybe they just wanted to have some different say-so. I do know that the Catawbas have already contributed money to the Abuse Prevention Council and to Gamblers Anonymous for the county. Go ahead, Mike.
Somewhere, Andy, I smell the city manager behind the mayor's press release.
I was getting ready to say that.
The city manager
I
was
was
not
getting
there.
ready to say that. He
Well,
didn't
then-
have to be. He was there in letter only, I guess.
Well, I'm glad they had a good groundbreaking and it went well, a lot there. I thought it probably the most famous person there was Don Trump Jr., who showed up for it and got his picture taken with a few people. And then Andy, as you noted before the show, he ate lunch apparently at Red Bridges Barbecue in Shelby that same day. But I'm glad they had a good one. I don't know anything to say. I didn't say last week about the casino. It's a great financial windfall. There are some challenges that come with casinos related to gambling addiction and stuff. And I know there's some effort made to deal with that. But I think what Wes brought up is an extraordinarily interesting thing. My memory is correct. Lots of folks in Kings Mountain, including the former mayor, were opposed to the casino.
They were.
Absolutely.
And the county
And
made it
councils.
happen with the
The county
Catawbas.
did.
And now that it is definitely going to happen, Kings Mountain's thinking now, we may have messed up a little bit.
Well, you can't win all the time, Mike. They won on Moss Lake when nobody else wanted it. So now you can't hit a home run every time.
All right, Andy.
Well, and it's a funny thing. The one thing y'all didn't talk about in the VIP bag was the $25
Oh,
in free
that's right.
play.
Yes, it was a big coupon.
I know a couple guys that went, and I said, "Well, how'd you come out on that?" He said, "Well, they made money off my $25 in free play," and
I
that's
haven't
normally
used
how that
mine.
works.
Well, you can have mine. It's good to the end of the month.
Good deal. I ain't been in over a year, so I don't know how to find a place, to be honest with you. But, it was really an interesting thing. But this thing that Kings Mountain is basically wanting to throw everything, out the window and start over. Basically, you might as well say.
After the fact.
Yeah, after the fact. I mean, after everything's been done. And I hadn't talked to any county commissioners, but I bet there's some steaming people there right now. And if they probably won't go into Kings Mountain for a while because they are probably said some things they probably didn't
Well,
need to say out in public.
The three things Kings Mountain has that they ought to work their own agreement with, if they haven't, and I would just assume they already have, is
I
water,
thought they
sewer,
had.
well, really four things.
Energy.
Water, sewer, and gas and electricity.
I thought they had.
And
it.
I'm
would
not
too.
sure they can do electricity because of the 1965 Power Act. If they don't already have electricity when it comes there and it's already got Duke, as a general rule, unless they get a local bill or something, I don't think they can do electricity, but they certainly could do gas. And obviously, they're the obvious water and sewer provider. And if they give them some payment in lieu of outside the rate, city rate for those, then they might do that. But the payment in lieu of, or the outside city rate is where cities actually make money on water and sewer to help the people inside the city.
A
'Cause
huge windfall.
I know in Shelby, if you pay, I think I might be off, but I think it's about 75% more if you're an outside the city water and sewer customer than if you're inside. So there's a significant difference.
Well, and I've wondered too, Mike, you go right across the street there is that huge commercial electric plant
Yeah.
over there, and I wondered if they'd had any dealings with, I would hope
We
they
were
would have,
told-
because it means right across the street, literally.
And whenever it was being built, you know, we were told all up and down our road that that would be, they would be providing electricity to the
Well,
casino.
that's sort of what I thought, but then you also got the new sewer plant for Kings Mountain that's going, I'm assuming has already started. I know at the Pilot Creek plant, you can see where the construction companies put a sign up, I guess starting to work, somehow they're going to connect them or do something, I don't know. I've not seen the particulars on it. But it's going to be interesting to see how that all, because I told some people in Kings Mountain last week, I said, Kings Mountain for the first time in a long time is sitting in the catbird seat.
Well, they've always been location-wise sitting in the catbird seat
Well, with
along
85, yes.
But let's face it, without any other deal for Kings Mountain, a lot of the growth that's going to come off the Catawba Indians ground is going to be in Kings Mountain. Some of it won't be, but some of it will be in Kings Mountain. That'll create a lot more sales tax and revenue for Kings Mountain over time.
But for Kings Mountain to bring up reconsideration of an IGA that's been in place since 2019 and was a formidable part of getting this to happen.
That's the only way it was going to happen.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being certainty, I would give it less than 1 that the county's going to do much to change their IGA.
I
I
would
would
agree.
agree.
And nor should they.
No.
Okay, and we'll be talking more about the casino as we go along. Well, folks, we have spent a lot of time on the casino and the groundbreaking, so now we need to take a break. Please come back and be with us for the rest of Political Smackdown.
Between your job, your family, and other demands on your time, life can get pretty hectic. So we want you to take time for yourself. Hi, I'm Jennifer Harrell, and I want you to join me for your health. Each month, the Cleveland County Health Department and C19 TV will explore topics that affect you and your family's health. We'll discuss the importance of exercise, a healthy diet, and regular health screenings and checkups. From fitness tips to warning signs to the latest healthcare news. For Your Health will help keep you in shape and up to date in Cleveland County. We want you to be your best, so join us each month for Your Health, right here on Spectrum Cable and online, c19.tv.
Probably not. I have to study for my exams next week, and my dad would kill me.
I can't make it. I've got a big game tomorrow night. I want to make sure I'm in good shape.
No, I'm good. I don't want to get in trouble. My parents would kill me.
Nah, I gotta fill out scholarship applications.
Everyone has at least one good reason to stay away from drugs and alcohol. Find your reason today and get back to enjoying life.
Welcome back. Thank you for rejoining us today for Political Smackdown. And we're going to turn to something else besides something local in Cleveland County. Last show, we talked about the 34 guilty verdicts for former President Trump for falsifying business records. The response from many Republicans and United States lawmakers was to attack the legal system, the judge, his family, and so forth. Trump has been railing against the Justice Department, saying Biden had arranged all the wrongful charges and verdict. Now let's switch to another trial in Delaware. Since then, the president's only son has gone on trial in Delaware for 3 federal charges concerning buying a firearm in 2018 after checking he was clean on drugs on the drug form. The jury found him guilty on all 3 charges. He will be sentenced just like they always do. The sentences come later. He'll be sentenced later. What were the 3 charges and what could be the punishments, Mike?
Well, he could get jail time, but it's unlikely because, like Trump, he's a first-time offender. I know President Biden said he would not pardon his son. Doesn't mean he wouldn't commute the sentence, and it doesn't mean that after the election he might not change his mind. But Betsy, I think I said last week, and I haven't changed my mind, buying the gun would have been legal had he not been proven to have lied about being a cocaine addict. And they showed in court clearly he was a cocaine addict at the time. Brought in his dead brother's ex-wife that he then had a relationship with after the death, and others that were in the family that testified honestly. But Betsy, I still think Biden, Betsy, hold the presses, Wes. I'm going to agree with Betsy 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, my goodness.
President Biden said this week after the fact that he didn't believe he would have been charged if he hadn't have been a Biden. I tend to agree with that, the same way I believe that anybody not named Trump would not have had 1, much less 34 charges in New York State. So I hope that he gets nothing more than probation. I don't have, as Dean used to say, I don't have a dog in the fight, but I just have some empathy for him. I know Hunter Biden has not been a particularly, quote, good person, and I frankly think he's facing some more serious charges related to the items that are still on the docket in California and so forth. But it's just kind of sad to watch. But that jury, if you think Trump's jury in 2 days was quick, this was a 3-hour verdict. So it must have been pretty clear. And it was in a relatively friendly place for him in Delaware. So now this was a federal court, though, not a
State court.
Well, Mike, just for information, there is a vaccination. If you agree with Betsy too much, we can take care of that.
Is it called the truth serum, Andy?
Well, when it comes to gun charges, I mean, feds don't mess around with those things. I mean, if you want to go to prison, you just do something criminal, and and people say, well, yeah, he lied on a form. Well, that's a pretty big lie when you say that you're not on drugs when your whole harem of women that he seems to have all said he was. So I think it was the preponderance of evidence was there. And I just don't know that the jury had any other way they could go with it.
So you think it's more serious to lie about a gun when you're an addict than about a affair you had with a porn star or an intern?
Well, that's the way the feds see it, though. I don't make laws anymore, Mike. I just see them as they are, and the feds said that was more serious. So
Okay.
That's all I can say about that. But, and when it comes to guns, you better be clean as a whistle because, I've heard more people got into trouble over guns. It's just unbelievable. And I'm not talking about shooting somebody. I'm talking about just the way they traffic in, possession of stolen firearms. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, and if he had lied about that, it would have been a legal sale. So I don't know if they still would.
Well, they wouldn't have sold it to him if he'd admitted he was a crack
But what I'm
addict.
saying is there wouldn't have been a crime committed.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just a sad thing.
It is. All right, Wes?
I'll be quick so we can move on. I just think it's very ironic for all the left wing trying to do away with guns that this was the charge and the conviction.
And you haven't
The
heard much.
hypocrisy of the left never ceases to amaze me.
Wes, you've been drinking that Kool-Aid again. I told you not to put that on your Wheaties.
Not Kool-Aid. I'm drinking water.
Well, I did read where one of the jurors said at the very beginning when they went in, they did a straw vote, and it was 6-6. But then they talked about it, and they looked just at the evidence, which is what they're supposed to do, and it was preponderous that it would be guilty. So, but it's sad, you know, anytime that you have drug addiction in a family.
But the
The
next
criminal
trial
trial, it had to be not a preponderance. That's a civil trial. It had to be beyond a reasonable
Beyond a
doubt.
reasonable doubt.
But the
okay.
next trial's coming up before Election
It
Day.
is in
and it
September.
will be significant, not paying $1.4 million of taxes. Again, the hypocrisy of the left. Raise taxes on everybody, but I don't know them.
And we'll see, and we'll talk about that in September. All right, as we move on, a major concern that I have is the ability to use artificial intelligence, that's AI, to doctor videos. This technology has gotten so advanced that it's hard to spot. An example would be the doctor video that was circulated, which showed President Biden glancing around to sit down at the Normandy celebration and remembrance, and no chair was there. This hoax was trying to add to the illusion that President Biden is senile and in La La Land. The dilemma is trying to ascertain what is reality, and more of these videos will surface the closer we get to the election. Am I overreacting? Does this issue concern you, Wes?
Well, yes, you're overreacting.
Okay.
And no, I have no concerns about it. It took me a while, but I was able to find the video to which you refer, and there was no AI involved in the production. It was edited. It did show, if you looked at the whole thing, it did show him finally sitting down in the chair that was clearly there, though it was a bit of an awkward moment for the president as he attempted to sit twice while everybody else was standing. But it was not AI generated. You know, AI is a tool, and just like any other tool, it can be abused, misused, as AI will be, as hammers are, like any other tool. But it's a good tool that will lead to a great many advances and conveniences if the government stays out of the way and doesn't stifle the innovation with more regulations. Meanwhile, Betsy, we, and I know you do, as we all do, need to not believe most of what we see on social media, and we need to read multiple sources of news to be sure that we have a complete understanding, but that's our responsibility.
And it is, and to read a wide variety. All right, Andy?
Well, there's some
You gonna
people.
straighten him out?
Well, I'm gonna offer a different view anyway. That was one of the big things when the Screen Actors Guild went on strike last year, was over AI, because you have, I mean, two very prominent folks. You've got Tom Cruise and Scarlett Johansson, who have both, and I saw the one about Tom Cruise, you couldn't tell it wasn't him. He was sitting there playing the guitar and sounded like it. It is scary what they can do. So, and I think what a lot of actors are saying is that this is sort of like something similar to what, you know, you had your college athletes about their the image and that sort of thing, that it can be manipulated so that anything can be said and done. And that's the concern. And I'm like you, Wes, I don't want to see, you know, overkill on, but somehow you've got to protect somebody's identity. And I don't think it's right somebody should take your image and have you dressed up in a clown costume running around on a pony or something. I mean,
it's
just
only
not right.
marginally different than the National Enquirer or any other print media. This was an argument we dealt with 500 years ago.
I disagree with that.
All right, Mike?
Well, there's an AP article that says this was real. It wasn't, this particular incident wasn't AI. But Betsy, I would not say, what is your words up here? I wouldn't say that Biden is senile and in La La Land all the time.
All the time.
But I would say
Mike.
he's somewhat senile, and he freezes, he slurs. It's existentially undeniable that Joe Biden is a shell of the man he was when you grew to admire him, Andy, as a senator from Delaware, and it's largely just related to the way age is impacting him. And as y'all know, a good majority of even Democrats say they wish somebody else could be the nominee, but I guess we're past the point that can happen unless something crazy happens between now and your convention or the election. But it's just existentially undeniable. All you have to do is watch his performance at the Juneteenth thing in Washington this week. He just stood there, froze, and didn't move for 30 seconds with everybody else dancing and laughing and singing around him. It's just sad to watch, and I hate that it's to the point it is.
Well, of course, you can always highlight things the way you interpret them. But we'll talk more about this because of course, the Republicans want to downgrade President Biden because they don't want him reelected. All right, very quickly, guys. Thousands of state employees, teachers get raises in July, even though it's the second year of the biennium. And the first-time teachers get $2,000 bonus and then like a 3% raise spread out for the others. And state employees get like 3%. Any ideas about, do you think that the General Assembly will pass more money for teachers and maybe for retirees who get nothing this year? Andy, quickly.
I don't think you're going to see much of anything. I think they've just about got it all hammered out. So we'll just see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
All right, Wes?
Well, quickly, NEA says the average teacher salary in North Carolina is just over $56,000. They work 10 months out of the year typically, which equates to a value of $67,000 a year. For consideration, median income for college graduates is just over $47,000, master's degrees $66,000, high school graduates $2,000 below the living wage. It seems to me that teacher pay is in line. They are getting a raise again this year, as they have every year that Republicans have controlled things. So I think our budget is sound and we're in pretty good shape. And thanks to our teachers, because they're professionals and I think the world of them.
And not every year. But anyway, Mike.
Well, I'll go a little different tack.
Yeah.
The day before we are taping, Speaker Moore says they're going to Plan B. They can't come to agreement with the Senate. They're going to pass their own version of a budget amendment for next year. And Berger has said that he doesn't agree with a lot of what they want to do. He promotes the vouchers for private school tuition, but he's skeptical about more pay for state workers or the child care subsidies they want. He says if it comes down to it, I'll walk entirely away from negotiations with the House and let the entire $1 billion roll into the state savings account
It's called
instead.
a game of chicken, Mike.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's where Berger's at today, and that's where Tim's at. So we'll just have to see the next 2 weeks what happens.
And who plays chicken? All right. Well, let's move down to the lightning round. What's tickling your fancy, Andy?
Well, this week, the Southern Baptists are having their annual convention. So the one thing that did stand out is this year they did not pass an amendment that would keep women from being pastors or any type of worship leaders.
That is,
Now, as I
that's
understand
big.
it, that doesn't mean they can't still have individual votes. They didn't make a blanket rule, is the way I understand it.
That I'm not exactly
Because they actually eliminated one church in Virginia.
Well, there's some churches that are not
from
going along with
doing
that, and that's part of it too.
Okay. All right, Mike?
Well, you may or may not have heard, there's actually a newspaper article out currently, but the old Earl Owensby Studios has been transferred to Clifford's Army, which is Deb Harden, our county commissioner's, that's her passion, is taking care of animals, and there's 26 acres and tens of thousands of square feet of buildings. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Who bought the land?
2 anonymous people gave it to
Okay.
Clifford's Army.
All right, Wes?
Now, 2.5 years ago, the President signed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which included $7.5 billion to build $500,000 charging stations to meet the EV goals. As of today, 2.5 years later, only 8 have been built. Contrast this to for-profit companies, Betsy. During the fourth quarter of 2023, Tesla alone built 357 new stations with nearly 4,000 charging points. When will you Democrats learn that the government just isn't the solution, even for the problems they create?
All right, and what I wanted to pinpoint is that now in Shelby, as of July 1st, people will be allowed to carry alcohol in designated cups in a defined area around Courthouse Square and from store to store, excluding the Carolina Harmony Trail. All right, be back with us next week. Thank you for coming, and that's all of Political Smackdown that we have this week.